I came here prepared to persuade you, Ayan, you're not a Christian. I think you are a Christian, and I think Christianity is nonsense.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I stumbled across this video, and I genuinely could not believe what I was watching. This is Richard Dawkins, arguably the most famous atheist on the planet, sitting down with Ayaan Hirsi Ali, a woman who used to be one of his closest allies in the new atheism movement, who just announced she converted to Christianity. And Richard is not holding back. He looks her dead in the eyes and tells her that everything she now believes is complete nonsense. This conversation gets intense, it gets philosophical, and honestly, it gets kind of emotional. So make sure you watch until the end. And please comment down below where you're watching from. I really love to see people from all over the world connecting in here. Alright now, let's get into the video.
I choose to believe that Jesus rose from the dead.
You choose to believe it?
Yes, and that is a matter of choice. And it's a matter, I think it has to go back to, is there something or is there nothing? And I think you start with, there is nothing. And yes, for years I agreed with you, there's nothing. But if you come round to the idea that there might be something much more powerful than we are, something that caused everything else, then something like Jesus rising out of the dead or these other miracles, Jesus being born out of a virgin, for that higher power is not a big deal. But again, it's a matter of choice, and it is just different planes of perception. And I think here, on this plane of perception, having been a former atheist, I don't think this is something we're going to resolve tonight or agree on right now.
Well,
and so that is where I think it's perhaps more interesting, even if you choose not to believe, to say, let's at least talk about the value of Christianity for today. I look at these universities, the most illustrious universities of the West. And you've all shared with me images of young women draped in kefirs, the symbol of Hamas, performing the Muslim prayer. And tell me if those kids are not morally and utterly lost. And Queers for Palestine. So while you and I and Steven Pinker and all of those wonderful people were locked up in our ivory towers, let's ask ourselves what was happening on the ground, because in the last 6 decades, we pretty much demonized Christianity and the teachings of Christianity out of the public space, out of school, out of universities. And a vacuum occurred, and that vacuum is now being filled, as G.K. Chesterton said, not because people have come to reason, but because now they'll believe in anything. There are very awful forces today out there that are claiming the hearts and minds and souls of these young students. And when you say there is nothing, you offer them nothing.
We're getting into the bigger political, cultural question. I just feel it's worth pressing one more time on this. What you said, agree to disagree, and I understand, having read Richard's letter to you, that literal belief is the bit that he can't get past. Are you saying that you don't literally believe those things? You talked about planes of reality. Is it that you see a beauty in those things and choose to suspend your rational judgment, or do you literally believe them?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is something subjective, and there's a choice. There are things that you see and perceive that a different person cannot perceive. Art, music. In fact, I think you do enjoy a great deal of Christian art and music. I will look at a painting by Pollock, and I will think my 6-year-old must have spilled all the paint on the canvas and run around. And people are crazy enough to pay millions of dollars and hang it on walls. But I've actually seen people be moved to tears staring at a Pollock. That is a plane of perception that is real, but it's also very, very difficult to measure. And it's the same the way you're moved by certain pieces of music. So the fact that I have faith, and I choose to have faith because of what I've experienced, is just as real for me as it is for the millions of people who believe. But for me, what is even more real is it's the story itself and the wisdom in that story, the morality that has come out, that has evolved out of that story, the internal debates of millennia long and everything that we inherited from it, it's just too casual to cast that aside. And when we've done it, I think we have caused ourselves a great deal of damage.
Richard, having heard that story, that moving story from Ayan of clearly how her conversion has helped her, and also she's explained in beautiful words the mode in which she believes it, do you still say you are not a Christian?
No, not at all. I came here prepared to persuade you, Ayan, you're not a Christian. I think you are a Christian. Yeah. And I think Christianity is nonsense.
This is where everything starts to fall apart. Right at the beginning, Ayan says, I choose to believe that Jesus rose from the dead, and that is a matter of choice. That statement is doing a tremendous amount of work. She is not saying she examined the historical evidence, weighed competing explanations, and reached a reasoned conclusion. She is openly admitting that she decided to believe it. That is fundamentally different, especially coming from someone who once built her entire reputation on challenging religious thinking and insisting that belief should always be proportional to evidence. Now the defense is essentially, I just chose it. This brings us to an important philosophical point: doxastic voluntarism, the idea that we can choose our beliefs the way we choose what to eat for breakfast. Most philosophers reject this. Beliefs respond to evidence. They aren't arbitrary decisions. You cannot simply choose to believe the sky is green. You either find the evidence compelling or you don't. So when Ayan frames her faith as a deliberate choice, she unintentionally undermines the very concept of belief itself. And then she takes it even further by saying that miracles like the resurrection or the virgin birth are no big deal for a higher power. But that line of thinking is circular. You justify the miracles by assuming God exists and then point to the miracles as proof that God exists. This is exactly the kind of reasoning Dawkins has spent decades criticizing, which leads to one of the most important moments in the conversation. Dawkins says, I came here prepared to persuade you, Ayan, that you are not a Christian. I think you are a Christian, and I think Christianity is nonsense. He isn't being cruel. He's being direct. He's acknowledging her sincerity while refusing to pretend that sincerity makes a belief intellectually respectable. That takes courage in a culture where we're trained to tiptoe around religion, to talk about your truth and my truth. Dawkins rejects that. There is one reality, and personal comfort doesn't alter it. Finally, Dawkins reframes the issue entirely. He says theism is the most exciting scientific hypothesis imaginable. And he's right. If God existed, it would rewrite physics, biology, cosmology, everything. It would be the single greatest discovery in human history. That is precisely why you cannot casually say, I choose to believe. The claim is too large, the implications too vast, and the stakes far too high for intellectual shortcuts.
You have to be, I mean, you appear to be a theist. You appear to believe in some kind of higher power. Now, I think that the hypothesis of theism is the most exciting scientific hypothesis that you could possibly hold. And the idea that the universe was actually created by a supernatural intelligence is a dramatic, important idea. If it were true, it would completely change everything we know. We'd be living in a totally different universe. Now, that's a big thing. I'm sorry, but it's bigger than personal comfort and nice stories and things. The idea that the universe has lurking beneath it an intelligence, a supernatural intelligence that invented the laws of physics, that invented mathematics. And that is a stupendous idea, if it's true. And to me, that simply dwarfs all talk of nobility and morality and comfort and that sort of thing.
So would you have preferred for your erstwhile new atheist colleague, Ayan, not to have converted? Having heard her story, would you rather...
No, I wouldn't say that. I'm just saying that religious belief is bigger than what gives you comfort. Or it's bigger than morality, it's bigger than what gives you comfort, it's bigger than what gives you a bulwark against Islam. It's something huge, it's something terrific, and it's false.
Are you not moved at all to she mentioned planes of reality. Is it for you entirely black and white whether those kind of stories are true or not? It feels like Ayan is saying that she chooses to believe them because she accesses some kind of greater truth via them and is less interested in the details. You're not softened at all on that?
Well, I'm softened by a personal story, and I'm softened by beautiful music. I mean, I'm softened by St. Matthew Passion, and not just the music itself, but the story behind it. It's a very moving story, and I'm moved by it in the same way as I'm moved by great fiction. It is fiction, and one of course can be moved by fiction. I think Ayan has described me as the most Christian person she knows, and
Yes.
and that may be true in certain senses, in a cultural sense, and I certainly, when you say, excuse me, when you say Christianity is a religion of love, Jesus, I think, was a very, very great character, a very loving character. The bad things about Christianity actually stem mostly from what came afterwards, St. Paul and the other Christian apologists who came up after him.
So you cannot allow the possibility that Ayan has access to truth that you yourself have not seen.
It is a scientific hypothesis that there is a supernatural creator. And I don't see how you can get to that from feelings of personal comfort or feelings of political necessity. You have to get to that from thinking.
And that brings us to consciousness. So first of all, the hypothesis itself, which even if you don't allow for set religion aside, the hypothesis of where did all this come from and how did it begin, again, there is no consensus on that. There is no consensus on what consciousness is and what all that entails. But I think that it is, on an academic level, very interesting and very rewarding to look into and explore all of these different things separately on an academic level. On a non-academic level, I think that it's very useful now. I hate to go back to utility, but to have all of these things connected, where as human beings, we are material, yes, but we also are more than material. We have a sense of consciousness, and we have a range of needs. And some of these needs, reason can answer, and pure science can answer. But some of these needs cannot be answered by that.
And Richard doesn't stop there. He keeps pushing because he understands something many people need to hear. He says, it is bigger than morality. It is bigger than what gives you comfort. It is bigger than what gives you a bulwark against Islam. It is something huge and terrific, and it is false. That is real intellectual honesty. He acknowledges that religion can provide comfort, community, meaning, even political utility, and he still says it is false because truth is not measured by usefulness. A comforting story is still a story. A belief that helps you cope is not automatically grounded in reality. Richard refuses to blur that line simply because it would be socially easier. Then he offers a moment of vulnerability. I am softened by a personal story, and I am softened by beautiful music. It is fiction. One, of course, can be moved by fiction. This shatters the stereotype that atheists are cold or unfeeling. Dawkins is saying he is deeply moved by religious art, especially the St. Matthew Passion
passion. He can be brought to tears by it, but being moved by something does not make it true. You can cry at a movie and still know it's fiction. Emotional resonance and factual accuracy are separate categories, and religion often exploits that confusion. Then he says something revealing. I think Ayan has described me as the most Christian person she knows. That may be true in certain senses, in a cultural sense. And this is actually profound. Dawkins grew up in a Christian culture. He appreciates its art, music, architecture, and stories. He knows its texts better than many believers, yet he rejects its supernatural claims. That is the line between cultural Christianity and actual belief. And countless people who call themselves Christian are in Richard's camp. They enjoy the traditions and holidays, but hesitate when asked if they truly believe someone rose from the dead. Then Ayan attempts to shift the argument.
She says science can't meet every human need. Some of these needs reason can answer, and pure science can answer. But some of these needs cannot be answered by that. She's not entirely wrong. Science can't tell you the meaning of your life, who to love, or what will make you flourish. But here's what she misses. The fact that science can't answer a question does not mean religion can. Making up an answer is not the same as having one.
And I think faith in a higher power, in God, and in the story that makes sense of it all, gives it meaning, is very, very important for human beings. And the danger lies in trying to conflate these different planes and then casting aside as useful. It is false, it's useful, it's useless, it's unnecessary. And now we have, the range of human suffering where, as an atheist, you don't really offer an answer, you don't offer a prescription for this is a way of life, this is the path to happiness, this is how you can deal with the challenges of existence. And atheism is an attitude. It basically says, as of now, there is no evidence to show that God exists or that a higher power exists, full stop. And you figure the rest of it out. And it's very, very difficult to figure the rest of it out starting from scratch. And I think faith then gives meaning and purpose. And yes, if you're afraid of the dark, and if you're afraid of whatever it is that's causing you anxiety, or whatever is causing you self-doubt, relationships between other human beings, I think Christianity does offer a recipe, and perhaps in my view, the best recipe for not only how to live with yourself and connect to the universe, but also how to connect with fellow human beings, and then bring about a civilization like this one.
Suppose it were true that atheism doesn't offer anything. Suppose it doesn't offer anything. So what? Why should it offer anything? Why should the universe offer you anything?
But what is the scientific explanation for you being moved to tears by Sir Matthew's passion?
Well, it's neurology. Let me ask Ayan.
I think the question you ask now is very interesting. Why should atheism offer you anything? There is no reason why atheism should offer anything, but something else. Faith offers something valuable and tangible and great.
Yes,
so why should atheism mock that and knock it down?
No,
is
I
it
don't
not
want to mock
possible
it.
to have this coexistence where there is a place for reason and there is a place for faith and for subjectivity? Just like we agree to have a separation between religion and politics, I think it is absolutely possible to have, and Christianity allows for that, a separation of science and the material world, the temporal world, versus the world of faith. And these things, when they complement each other, I think lead to a much more powerful outcome than when you again, I find the differences between us.
And this is where Ayaan reveals what I think is the core weakness of her entire position. She says, as an atheist, you do not really offer an answer. You do not offer a prescription for, this is a way of life. This is the path to happiness. And I need everyone to understand why this argument completely falls apart. She is essentially saying atheism is bad because it does not give you a user manual for life. But that is like criticizing a hammer for not being a cookbook. Atheism is not a philosophy. It is not a worldview. It is not a lifestyle brand. It is one position on one question. Do you believe in God? No. That is it. That is all atheism is. And then Richard delivers what I think is the most powerful line of this entire segment. He says, suppose it were true that atheism does not offer anything. So what? Why should it offer anything? Why should the universe offer you anything? That right there, that is the moment. Because Ayaan is operating from this assumption that the universe owes her meaning, that reality is obligated to provide her with comfort and purpose and a roadmap to happiness. And Richard is saying, why? Why should the universe care about your feelings? The universe is under no obligation to make sense to you. Stars explode and kill entire solar systems. Species go extinct every day. Children get cancer. The universe is not a loving parent. It is indifferent. And demanding that reality conform to your emotional needs is the height of human arrogance. Then Ayaan tries one more time. She says, faith offers something else. Faith offers something valuable and tangible. And so, why should atheism mock that and knock it down? And she asks, is it not possible to have this coexistence where there is a place for reason and there is a place for faith? And here is my answer. Coexistence is fine. Nobody is saying you cannot believe what you want in your own home. But when faith starts making claims about reality, about history, about science, about what happens after we die, then it is fair game for criticism. You do not get to make truth claims and then hide behind the shield of respect my beliefs when someone points out those claims have no evidence. The reason atheists push back is not because we hate religious people. It is because we care about what is actually true. And in a world where people vote based on their religious beliefs, where laws are written based on ancient texts, where children are taught that faith is a virtue, yeah, it matters. Truth matters. Evidence matters. And no amount of personal comfort can change that. So what do you guys think of this? Leave your thoughts down in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.